welcome. Are you a collector, or are you maybe thinking of starting to collect? Well, hold on, wait a minute. I've got the next console for you you're going to want to buy. Actually, I've got the choice of two for you. The PlayStation 3 or the Xbox 360. Now, I'm going to be talking about the PlayStation 3 here because that's the one I've got. I did have a 360 back in the day when it was current gen. And the reason I've got a PS3 now is because I want to play the games I missed out on because they were PlayStation exclusives. I don't really think you can go wrong with either. Just get whatever you fancy. And there's many good reasons to do this. I'm going to start with a big one. Because as much as you could use a PS3 or Xbox 360 as your main console, it's got a great library which would keep you amused for hours and hours, it's unlikely you're going to do that. This is going to be a second or more console, more than likely for you. So, let's get it out of the way. Numero uno. They're cheap. No, seriously, they're really quite cheap to buy. I would recommend in this instance not buying from CEX or cash converters because they're a bit overpriced there. You're looking at 60 quid and upwards for a console. You'll get one for around half the price if you look around online on the likes of Facebook and Gumtree, eBay, Vinted, and any others you know. But if you want the warranty, of course, go ahead, whatever makes you happy. Now, there's 3 different consoles to choose from. You've got the original fat PlayStation 3, the launch models. These do have a reputation for overheating. I've never owned the fat variant, so I've got no personal experience there. I'm only telling you what I've read. But just be aware, however, I also do know that it's only the launch fat models, not all the fat PlayStation 3s, just the launch PlayStation 3s, that are backwards compatible with the PlayStation 2. I believe they're the 80 and 60 gigabyte ones. Double check that if you're thinking of buying one. Because they've got the PlayStation 2 hardware built into them. If you want to be able to play PlayStation 2 and PlayStation 3 games on the same console, then you do need to go for the launch model. Otherwise, I would suggest either getting the second or the third iteration. The second iteration is the PlayStation 3 Slim. Because PlayStation always does a Slim. There's nothing wrong with it at all. Really good, quite sturdy. Obviously, anything like this could break. I mean, it's electronics and it's not brand new, but they seem to have a fairly robust reputation. And then you get to the models which I've got, which are the Super Slims with the slidey roof. Some people don't like them because they think they look a little bit cheap. And yeah, they probably do if I'm honest, but I don't care how it looks. I just want to play games on it and it works as good as anything else. Be aware, with the Super Slims, they do tend to come with the smallest memory, 12 gigabytes. You can get one with 500 gigabytes, but they're expensive. 12 gigabytes doesn't matter to me at all, because I'm only playing physical games on it and using it to save games. So that's fine by me, but I just want to make you aware, potential pros and cons. I managed to get mine for, I think it was 25 quid off Facebook Marketplace. And it came with all the leads and a controller. So you really can find an absolute bargain just by shopping around. I reckon if you give yourself a budget of around 30 quid, maybe 30 to 40 if you want to get one quickly, you don't want to wait for something to come available, you should nail a really good PlayStation 3 console. Just make sure, top tip here, that it comes with the controllers. Because individually, you're looking at 20 quid plus for a controller, and all of a sudden, you're making it a bit more expensive than it needs to be. But of course, it's not just the buying of the console that's important, it's the games. Well, they're relatively cheap too. It's hard to say that they're all cheap, because there are some more expensive ones. I want to collect the Spider-Man games, which are still trapped only, at least physically, on the 7th generation. They're 30 to 40 quid each. Which you might not consider expensive, but I do for a 7th generation game. But I really want them. The majority of games you'll get for around 5 quid or less, and they're really good as well. So, on the whole, I would 100% say the games on this are quite cheap, but just bear in mind there might be the odd title. But also it depends on your perception and what you consider expensive. For me, I'm tight, so I don't want to pay more than a fiver for a game, ideally less. And most of my games were less than that. So you can find them just by hunting around. And CEX still has a really good selection of PlayStation 3 games. And a lot of them there you'll find for less than 2 quid. In fact, I did a little video with some really good cheap ones for less than 2 quid. Maybe check it out after this. So, I've hopefully convinced you it's quite cheap to buy a console. I've hopefully convinced you can get some awesome games for cheap. But are they any good? Well, they're superb. There was a big graphical jump from the PS2 to the PS3. Obviously, if you're playing your current latest and greatest on your PS5 or your Xbox Series X, or you've got an all singing and dancing PC which costs a fortune, yes, graphically, it's not going to look as good, because it's not current tech. But they still hold up really well. I don't for 1 second feel like I'm playing an old machine when I play the games. Once you get into it, you actually forget all about it, and it actually feels just like a modern game. You'll find the way they control and the just general scheme and style of games is very up to date. It's the same as you get now, so it's not like you're trying to learn an old-fashioned control scheme or something like that. It's very of the moment still, and depending on the game you get, some of them still look absolutely beautiful. So, without doubt, they look good. And here's the kicker. There's an amazing amount of really good 7th gen games still trapped on that generation. The aforementioned Spider-Man games, Red Dead Redemption, and the Undead Nightmare DLC, the Resistance trilogy, they're fantastic. 2 prototype games, Max Payne 3, The Darkness, that's an underrated horror game, pretty good that is. You got The Bureau, XCOM Declassified, and so much more. There's a real wealth of games just waiting for you to discover, or rediscover, if you had that console when it was out, and you'll love them. They're absolutely brilliant. I love my PS3, I play it a lot, and there's just so many good games. And did I mention they're cheap? You might even find franchises that you're still familiar with, because a lot of them started on the 7th gen. Assassin's Creed, anybody? There's a lot of games on it for that, and you can currently only get the first Assassin's Creed game on this gen. I know they're making a remake, or it's rumoured, but right now, you want to play the first Assassin's Creed? Get your 360 or your PS3 out, it's the only way you can. How about Batman? Arkham Origins, because it was developed by a different team, they didn't bring it over to the PS4 generation. So, again, you want it physically? Get it on your PS3. I think you can pick the game up for about £2 or £3. And, I'm just going to say it now, I like Arkham Origins. It's a good game. There's a lot of franchise out there with key entries which you simply can't get on current gen, or PS4 or Xbox One. You need to go back to the 7th gen. And if you like the franchise, maybe you're waiting for a new one to come out, why not play the previous entries? Gives you more of what you like. And if you are a bit of a retro game enthusiast, all PlayStation 3 consoles can play PlayStation 1 games. Remember I said only the launch model fat ones can play PlayStation 2, but they can all play PlayStation 1. And do you know what? Some purists out there might dislike me for this, but I think PlayStation 3 is by far the best way to play PlayStation 1 games. It gives you a bit of an upscale in the graphics. I can't tell you exactly how it does it. It's something to do with softening and things. You can go into your settings and discover it for yourself. It means that I don't need to dig out a CRT TV. I can play it on my modern telly, and it looks good. It plays well. I can even use a wireless controller, so I can lay down on my couch to be comfortable. There really is something for everybody. The games are only going to go higher. They have got to be, surely by now, at rock bottom. If you're buying games for £1 or £2, well, you can't get much cheaper than that, can you? And the ones which are already 20, 30 quid, well, they're not going to come down. Get out there, take advantage of it, get in there before the prices go up, and have a great time. Honestly, whether it's your first past console and you want to start a collection, or whether it's your 50th, you'll love it. Buy a PlayStation 3. Until next time, I'll see you soon. Ta-da!